This week's hot topic is one we've kind of covered before, but I think is becoming more relevant again, and that is artwork for albums and whatnot still relevant in today's digital world with streaming services and whatever else have you? And I think Brendan wants to go first on this one.
Yeah, I think, as much as it pains me to say it, I don't think it is relevant anymore. It's certainly not to the extent that it was. Which is a damn shame because I love it. You know, nothing was ever better for me than, like, particularly in the days of vinyl with LP and then open the inside and the inserts and, you know, it had full art, and then when something would fold out and it would become something else, it was so clever. And generally, I mean, there was enough integrity in the art of the album cover alone before you even got to the music, and that's been lost. I think it was lost to some degree when CDs came out because that kind of had to change. And now in the digital format, I think that the art and the imagery has moved to the video side of things and the way you present yourself in digital media more than album art. I still love it. I wish it had the same relevance. I don't think it does.
Okay.
Yeah, I love good album art because you can really capture what you're trying to portray as a band.
Well, we still put it as a top 10 category.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we should.
Yeah.
We should.
Particularly in our genre, though. It's probably more relevant, but, you know, it's edgy and underground. It's different.
The downside is, though, like most people, when you're consuming music through your phone and on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever the hell it is, you're looking at a little thumbnail that's tiny and you really can't capture the depth of what is trying to be portrayed. Like if there's any subtleties in the artwork or anything with the inserts or when you're on the back side of the cover or anything like that, you really can't capture it anymore. So is it as relevant? Definitely not. But, you know, I'm hoping that one day there'll be a medium for it.
It is a shame, isn't it, Lisa? That, I mean, even with my digital media and stuff, I always make sure I've got the album art and stuff there.
I do.
really love it. So when I'm in the
that.
car, it still comes up on the screen, though, and I really dig it. But Somewhere in Time album cover is a classic example of one that, you know, you used to stare for hours trying to find all the little Easter eggs and stuff in there, you know, like that's gone, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
I still think it's important, even in digital, because there's so many bands, and once a band or two take off, record companies are always looking for those ones. So you can get lost in the mix. So to have an identity, if you do fit the current movement, it doesn't matter if it's a thumbnail or you can always click it and make it bigger. And if you're interested, if it catches your eye, it's going to catch your eye.
Yeah.
So I still think that it's still very much relevant. Just as much as... Yeah, I think you need an identity, and a lot of bands lose that already in music. You almost bunch bands together. If you close your eyes, it's like who's who. But
I think that the thought process has changed. It's more about
it's
more about branding than album art now. I think
but there's no difference.
But it's still the same thing. Whether it's a logo or whatever, it's still branding.
Yeah,
Depends on what the branding is. Like if the branding is, you know, a shot of 4 people standing next to each other with a blue light on it, and everyone's wearing a different coloured T-shirt, and everybody's got the same hairdo, and everyone's got
the Wiggles album.
everyone's got stretched ears, and one guy's got a mustache, and one guy wears a hat, and one guy wears a glasses. Well, everybody does that. It's not really an image. With an album art, where you can really capture the difference of that. I mean, we've all bought albums just because we saw it and thought, the cover's cool.
100%.
Exactly.
And I don't think that's...
I don't know if you can do that anymore because...
I still think you can. I still think it doesn't matter if you see it on Spotify and it comes up, and if it's visually pleasing to you, you're going to want it. You're going to want to see it, and you're going to want to click on it, or whatever the format is that you're using. I think it's still a big selling point, and the best part about it is, rather than having your album art and then a separate T-shirt, if that's working, use that as your T-shirt, and that's how you're going to sell.
That's true.
And make money, and that becomes your branding, at least for that album. You know, and if you're a traditionalist, you'll keep your logo the same. If you're not, change your logo and the artwork next time around. It may work, it may not work, but I still think you need an identity, especially in this world where something's uploaded and it's gone within 2 minutes. If you're not on that feed at that particular time, if you don't scroll through Facebook, you won't know that it even ever happened, let alone, you know, it's gone and dusted. So I think it's probably more relevant today than it is even back in the day.
Well,
where
I
you could
think
buy
it's
a
more
vinyl.
important than ever before.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to go the opposite end of the spectrum for you guys. I'm going to say it's more important than ever before. Because, as you've touched on, that we've talked about before behind the scenes, when it comes to selling stuff, I think you make more money now out of T-shirt sales and CD sales if you're an artist, so you're better off having the money you would spend on printing CDs and putting it onto getting a good designer to make a ripping fucking design for your logo and for your artwork to put onto your T-shirts, put onto your fucking mugs, to put onto whatever it is you've got, stubby holders. Plug.
But it's also a professionalism aspect
yeah.
as well, because Triple Kill's album, the artwork matches the album.
Yeah.
So now I feel like I've got a professional release.
Yeah.
If it was just some kind of written in texter thing, I probably the music's good, but geez, look at this. It's they're a garage band.
Apart from Still This
you
album.
know,
Nick, you're
well,
old.
yeah, well,
I'm old, and I agree with everything you're saying because
Yeah.
that's the way I consume
I still
music.
think
That's not the way the
young
general
kid
public
looks at
consumes it,
something. I think a 15-year-old kid looks at something and goes, "I like that," before they've even heard it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
But it's not so
Usually
sure.
how, like, for example, like, I haven't bought an album in God knows how long. And the only way, like, everything's through streaming now for me anyway.
It's how most consumers do it now.
Yeah, and the only way that I would find new music is when you open up the app and it comes the Discovery playlist or whatever it's called.
Which I utilise for what we do here.
Exactly, and for mine, my decision on whether I like it or not is generally in the first 10 seconds of listening to the song. By that point, whether I'm listening to it in my car or, you know, in the house or whatever it is, I've already heard the band before I've seen the artwork. The artwork for mine is something that I see after the fact.
But the artwork is still a gateway to a band.
Yeah.
And this is where, on your social media side especially, your artwork, whilst it's not maybe as brocaded on a fucking album cover on a vinyl, which is, you know, A2, whatever the fuck it might be. Fucking, I don't know, I'm not an office works worker. But if sorry, Jade. But if you have, that is there a tangible in front of you. But what happens now is we all have these devices and we scroll, but Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, they all prioritise imagery over a text
Yeah, they do.
post. And so what you decide to do with your branding and your image and your artwork, whilst it's... The caveat is that when you think about artwork, it's not just for the cover of your piece of work anymore. This is now the entire concept for your rollout of your next merchandising range, which makes it critically important. And because also, whilst we're all talking about the young kids and also stuff, because we're the old fuckers and the kids are the ones listen to it, Tim excluded. But the thing about it, right, is that kids, probably even more so than us, are conditioned for the visual.
Yeah.
They're all on Snapchat, they're all on Instagram, they're all on Facebook, they're all on Twitch and everything fucking else that I can't possibly keep on top of.
But that's why it's almost shifted, because even the album itself is becoming less relevant.
The album itself,
You know,
is, so this is where...
So we say we agree with the art,
but-
but artwork's still and imagery's still
But Instagram
absolutely
is bigger
relevant.
than
Like,
ever, and that's
you know,
that's all Instagram.
But that's the
is.
thing.
Yeah, but,
If you look at-
what are we
you know,
what are we
so-
arguing here?
but
We're
again-
arguing album artwork or imagery
artwork
go
in-
with your music, because I mean obviously
album
that's
artwork or artwork
crucial.
in general.
But I
is,
think
you know,
that it's one and the
place
same for
ahead.
mine. But also the other thing that we've forgotten that no one
You
has
still
mentioned
sell your
yet-
album through your artwork.
Yeah. The other thing that, because it's a gateway, but the other thing that, because if it's something is visually going to get your attention, how do you make people click on it? Because Facebook, for example, won't like you sharing a link that's outside of Facebook.
That's right.
Right? So if you want to get people to click on a link, you've got to put a visual or a video with it. That's where the visual of the artwork
See,
comes
the
in.
reason why I don't reckon that's relevant is because generally how it'll work is you stick a good-looking person on there.
Yes and no, because
Works for me.
yes, and you're as shallow as they come. But the thing about it for mine is that an eye-catching image is still relevant. Otherwise, advertising itself wouldn't use imagery anymore.
Of course.
And that is not going to go away anytime soon. The other side of it for me is that on the latest, which is a new development, which is really cool and I think has a lot of scope, is that on, for example, if you listen to, which we did, A Perfect Circle's latest album, when you had it on Spotify on your phone, it wasn't the artwork per se that you got just sitting on your screen static. It was a moving image
Yeah, okay.
of a person on the artwork moving around back and forth, and it was creepy and tripped out and stuff. So we're now seeing, whilst the traditional artwork isn't the same as what it was, imagery and artwork applied to your brand and concept for the release cycle that you're on is critically important, because what happens is now you've got almost a 3D space to work within, which is again different eye-catching. And when the most rising thing out there is esports and things like that, you've got to be in that market. Video games don't go by sound. Video games go by imagery. We have got an entire generation or more built on imagery alone.
To reverse engineer that, though, when you say any fan of this show and any, say, Metallica fan, for instance, when you say Master of Puppets, you see that album
Image
cover in your head immediately. I think that is disappearing. Where that instant image of album cover to album name, the way it used to be digested, I think is
I would agree with you if I hadn't have seen the Perfect Circle artwork, because now when I think of a Perfect Circle, I think of that moving image.
That's a different thing. Oh, and it's not a different thing, but with that cover, that cover suited that album perfectly.
Yes, and that's why it's still important.
Yeah.
Awful album that it was.
I loved it.
Yeah, I'll agree with Brendan, actually.
I loved it. But the point is, like, I think with a Perfect Circle as well, they're catering to an older audience.
Yeah.
As well. Like, their last
3D
album...
moving imagery on their phone?
Yeah, their last album was 2014.
They're also artsy-fartsy.
Yeah, if you go to
But they're the only album I've seen do it too, which opens the door for everyone.
Yeah,
if you go to a Perfect Circle show, I can guarantee you I would be the youngest person there.
Yep.
Like
no one arguing with that?
Yeah, like 15-year-old kids aren't listening to a Perfect Circle, so they're catering to people who did grow up with album covers. Like the Taylor Swifts and the Adeles of the world and the rock bands that are looking to get into that market. For general thing, I think having the front man or the front woman with that image at the front is more important than the album itself.
I would think on your general band imagery, yes, but for your individual product cycle release, once that gets more settled than it is right now, because it's still a state of flux, once that product cycle goes into full effect, which it isn't quite yet, I think it'll go back.
Yeah, I think it's genre based.
That too.
A metalhead kid will love the gore and everything, and the more fucked up you make it, the more he's going to be into it.
That's true.
But also, you look at Halloween and Christmas, what sells? The imagery.
Yeah.
Anyway, YouTube's about to close.
Yes, it is. Okay, yeah, we're dragging.
That was an episode in itself.
It was pretty much. I think that's the longest one I've done. Actually, it's not the longest one we've done.
No, it's Spotify.
Spotify was the longest one I've done. Go and check it out. It's on YouTube. On that note, we'll move along. Give us your thoughts. Is artwork still relevant to you? Let us know. Is artwork still relevant to you? Let us know.
Better be.
I think the YouTube one was like 45 minutes. Also, the Spotify one was it? Was
45 odd minutes. Yeah, 40 minutes.
Stupid.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, I went off.
It was mostly you as well. We were
big.
sitting.
Hey, you all weren't too bored.
No, I wasn't bored. It was quite entertaining.
I'll have to
It was
look at
also
it when we
like,
get on.
how is this going for us? It's great.
When I get on a tear, I can fucking go.
Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
looking forward to the bin.
This one's actually relatively short by my usual standards for this one. All right,
Wait till
Tyler
you argue with
James.
mine.
Huh?
Wait till you argue with mine.
Here we go. Tyler James, everyone ready? Who wants to go first?
Yeah.